Automating your company's financial systems. Save time and money. Brought to you by CFO On Demand from Fitzpatrick, Bongiovanni, and Kelly. Please support our sponsors. McPeak Wealth Management Group of Wells Fargo, Ansero IT, Levin Stoller, Attorneys at Law, Allegra Marketing, Integris Investing, Tim Pashley, Cooper Levinson, Attorneys at Law, Rich Asset Management, Ocean First Bank, Sturdy Savings Bank, Bank of America, Persky Marone, Attorneys at Law, Merrill Lynch, Altor Oakley Group.
As your full-service communication solutions partner, Ansero makes it easy and cost-effective to keep your systems running smoothly. It's not about Band-Aid solutions. It's about a comprehensive and strategic IT plan that makes for your business and your budget. With over 7,000 devices under management, we know what it takes to keep your network secure and running smoothly. From managed services to backup and recovery to security, and you'll benefit from enterprise-strength IT experts at a fraction of the cost. Think of your managed IT provider as a partner in your success so you can stop losing sleep, because you have more things to do than worry about IT. Ansero.
And now our presenter, Lou Bongiovanni.
Hello and welcome. This is Lou Bongiovanni, and thanks for joining us this month in our webinar. A few changes here that you're seeing is that we've introduced a feature, which is the video portion of the webinar. It's been 6 months since we've done our presentations, and we wanted to add some additional features, so we thought this would be the appropriate one given that we're talking about automation. In this one, why not include some more technology? So a couple of things before we get started. We want to talk about, we're going to talk about automating your accounting systems. You'll be able to ask questions if you'd like. There is a button on your screen. Feel free to ask questions. I'm the only one who sees them, and at the end, I'll address any questions there are. Secondly, we'll be recording this session, so if you want to see it at a later time, or if you want to share it, which we hope you will, with other people in your company or other business owners, feel free to do that, and we'll be sending you a video link within a day or two of this presentation. Okay, let's get started. As far as the webinar objectives we want to cover what financial functions should be automated today, how to integrate your financial and operating systems. We'll cover ways to profit in this age of big data. If you've been reading in business publications, big data has been here. It's been used by large companies. Now small companies are getting into it. And last, the 7 ways to automate your financial systems. Let's start by defining when we call automation, what are we talking about in this context? Because we're talking about automation in the financial system. So we're talking about a technique of making a process or system operate with minimal human input. We want to make these type of processes, especially ones that don't touch the customer or client, as mechanical as possible, as autonomous as possible from the individual. A statistic here that caught my eye in doing the research from a company called Work Market, that 74% of financial workers, that's people in the accounting and finance departments, believe parts of their job can be automated. 53% believe that they can save up to 2 hours per day, or 40% of their work year, by automating tasks. So clearly there is room, there's capacity to improve on automation for big and especially small companies, and that's what we'll talk about today. Philosophically, what we believe at CFO on Demand is that automation is essential in order to maximize efficiencies in any company, big or small. And when you maximize efficiencies, that leads to higher profits, but doesn't only lead to higher profits, it also leads to higher profits quickly. And speed is rewarded in this time in the business world. So if you're doing something that's benefiting the company, the faster you can do it, the better. Second is financial automation allows the owner to work on their business versus working in their business. You may have heard this saying before, but it really resonates in this particular topic, that you want to have the ability to do things to improve your business working on it rather than be stuck in the day-to-day tasks of working in the business. This results in the freedom that business owners really hope to achieve by being out on their own. And this freedom usually leads to success for the business owner. 3 reasons why you must automate your financial systems. Number 1 is it saves time and efficiencies. Pick repetitive tasks that you want to automate and really focus on that to save time. Next is save money. Obviously, if you're not paying individuals to do these repetitive tasks, or you're limiting what they do, then you're going to save money. So it financially benefits the company. And 3, you want to increase accuracy. If this is a repetitive task that you've automated, you take away or minimize the human error, and that is something that will help in the accuracy of it and the efficiencies of it and the timeliness of it, because you'll be able to get to these tasks in a sooner method and allow you to analyze them. Next. Oh, some technical difficulties here. Oh. Okay. Well, you know this is a live webinar because there's technical difficulties here. All right, hold on. Hopefully we're going to get reconnected. All right, the financial, next screen, please. All right, here we go. Sorry about that. All right, financial areas that you want to fully automate here. So when you're working with your accounting, when you're working with your accounting systems, the 3 areas that are a must to integrate is your banking, your point of sale, and your payroll. These are the areas when you're starting to automate your financial system and integrate them into your accounting system. These are the 3 areas that you want to get right. It doesn't matter the order in which you do them, but these are the 3 areas I highly recommend you start with. Let's cover banking first. All right, banking automation integration. This is a task, again, that's repetitive and is done rather often, and the company is interacting with the banking side of things as far as writing checks and making deposits. So technologies in the banking industry have improved dramatically, and allows you to do things such as scanning deposits, so there's no longer a need to go to the banks, although some bookkeepers and accountants still like doing that, as well as paying bills online. And many people are doing this personally, paying their bills online, but there's still a few that are lagging as far as doing that on the business side. There's not any right or wrong way of doing this. You want to integrate this, the accounting system and your banking system, as best you can. So it might be, if you want to do it through credit cards, you would have the credit cards being paid automatically through your bank, or you're paying it directly with the vendor through your banking system. Really, I'm not so particular as to how it's done, but it needs to be done in order to automate things and make them more efficient. Next is, well, here's this, the benefits of automating. You're taking away the trips to the bank, as I mentioned, the writing the checks, the postage, all those things that are time suckers and really don't really add value to whatever product or service you're providing. Next, the point of sale system. Point of sale system automation and integration is one that we've seen great benefits of. So as companies are using different software, whether retail, restaurant, it really doesn't matter, service industries, they have their specific point of sale or register systems. It's vital that they integrate with your accounting system. We see QuickBooks mostly, so that's the example that I tend to use, whether it's QuickBooks, the desktop version, or QuickBooks Online. Many of these softwares, these point of sale softwares, integrate well with them. This allows you to do things such as send customer invoices digitally, so you can send the invoices in a more timely basis. Many of them, especially in the retail area, interact with your inventory levels, so it allows you to order inventory at the right time, so you're not wasting money having inventory in the warehouse that is not being sold. And lastly, and frankly, most importantly for what we do at CFO On Demand, it really enhances your customer sales reports. And we'll talk about big data in a minute, but this really helps give a profile of what the customer's behaviors are. And just a graphic here as far as you have accuracy, you have timeliness, and that's going to result in higher profits. As you integrate this point of sale system into your accounting system, you're clearly avoiding redundancy as far as recording transactions on the accounting side and then putting it into your point of sale system as well. You're doing one entry and the two talk to each other. That's the ideal situation. Next, the payroll automation integration. What I found is most companies have done this already. This was one of the early ones. The payroll services did an excellent job making it easy to integrate and automate, and people were more than happy to get rid of that task because as a time-consuming task, low value task, and again, doesn't touch the customer or client, and is something that can be done and outsourced rather easily. You want it integrated with your accounting systems, and most are doing that. Some still who aren't should. It allows you to track employees by department, division, and location. What we do at CFO On Demand quite a bit is we try to break apart a business into their profit centers. That helps to give direction to managers. It helps give deeper insights on the different profit centers of a business. Your integration of your payroll system with the accounting system should do that seamlessly for you, so you're not spending time breaking out payroll by department. The benefits is ease of periodic input, especially for your hourly employees. Forget about the days where you would pick up the phone and call and let them know how many hours each employee worked. And it increases confidentiality, and that's always an issue with payroll. You limit who sees what in the payroll. You can do that even more so now that you automate that process. Okay, so integrating financial and operating systems. And when we're talking about operating systems, we're really talking about operations. So you want to integrate the financial or the scorekeeping of a business with the daily operations that relate to the business. And again, as much as you could automate that doesn't touch the customer or client, great. You can spill into what interacts with the client, but we're going to really focus on the financial areas, which tend to not touch the client directly. So the benefits of automating your financial system and your operations is ease of workflow, you save time, and removing redundancies, and we kind of talked about that a little bit already. So next slide. The three areas that are a must to focus on when doing this is the accounts payable or the disbursements, the accounts receivable or the receipts of monies, and then the year-end closing, the month-end closing of the books as far as making sure that reports can be generated. These are things that can be automated, outsourced because they tend to take time. out of a business owner's limited schedule of time, and really that time can be better used elsewhere. So just talk about the accounts payable, just gives you an idea of the typical accounts payable where you receive a bill, you enter into software, you maybe have to receive approvals, you write a check, you mail a check. There's a lot of steps involved in the conventional way of paying bills that you receive. By automating it and using services such as Bill.com, and there's a litany of other ones as well. You receive the invoice from the vendor electronically in many instances. You can approve the bill through remote tools. There, you do not have to. The owner does not have to be face to face. They can do it through their either their phone or their tablet. The vendor's paid, and you move on with the process. You take advantage of discounts and things of that nature. So that's what we're talking about, streamlining a process such as this. On the receivable side, these are monies that you receive. Obviously, sending invoices to the customer to make sure you get paid is a very critical process. So you want to make sure that that's done as efficiently as possible, whether through, depending on the nature of the client, whether you can do that digitally through email, or even if you're mailing it conventionally, you can have them paying you directly through your website. That has become more commonplace, or having a credit card on file and you're sending statements out on people's mobile devices. I'm seeing more and more of that. It's become more acceptable. And this allows you to manage collections and to manage discounts, as many of you have experienced. If you provide discounts, certain clients will take discounts even though they're not entitled to them because they're outside a certain window of payment. This allows you to manage that and control that better. So this process is very critical to the cash flow. And the third item that we talked about is the monthly closing of the books. Three components of that are bank reconciliations, data analysis, and the reporting. The first one, bank reconciliation, is a good one because that tends to, depending on how many bank accounts and the amount of activity you have, and if you have credit cards, that could be a time-consuming process once a month where you're entering payments, deposits, you're entering your credit card activity. That should all be automated. The credit card activity should pull into the accounting system automatically, and then you're verifying, you're doing your bank reconciliation, you're confirming it to the ending balance. So these are your typical conventional bank reconciliation steps. Automating, we just picked QuickBooks Online. Again, desktop does it as well. You could break that down into a simple two-step process because all the information has already gone from it's been input in the accounting software. The bank software is mapping it to the accounting software, and you're just verifying that mapping. If there's any conflict, then you're just looking at things that are discrepancies, so it's a much shorter list. And as you get better at it, that list becomes even shorter. And then your bank rec is done. So you really do not need to have a high level of accounting knowledge in order to do a bank rec now because of how automated the process is moving forward. The last item that we talked about as far as integrating financial and accounting, financial and operating systems is the data analysis and reporting. I kind of combine the two because the two are so interwoven. For those of you who've worked with us, we talk about key performance indicators all the time. Our last webinar was dedicated to key performance indicators, and these are specific ratios or certain benchmarks that you want to try to hit in your company in order for it to be as profitable as possible. This allows you to create those in a quicker and more efficient way as you're integrating your point of sale information, which is mostly driven on revenue, and your financial data, which is mostly the expense side of it. You're marrying those two together and creating some powerful key performance indicators. You want to analyze revenue and expense trends as well. This allows you to do that using charts and tables and reports to owners to make better business decisions. Ultimately, we kind of call it an island report. We mentioned that on the key performance indicator presentation, where if the business owner went on an island, and maybe some employees want the business owner to be on an island, they can see what's going on in the business. And basically, just reinforcing that, you're taking your customer data, your financial data, and you're creating, from those, you're creating analytical information in which to make better business decisions. Next, how to profit from big data. This is the third bullet point we were going to cover. It starts with target marketing and trends. And the next webinar, we're going to spend a bit of time on marketing and return on investment and touch on this for sure. There's a limited amount of funds companies have for marketing here. So you want to try to do your best to hit your specific market and not waste money on people who are not potential customers. You want to determine what customer behavior you want to measure or monitor. So that's really unique to your company, and things that we do with our clients is determining what do we want to know about your customer. You want to accumulate the data in a central place to be analyzed. So you're getting it either from surveys or social media. You want to accumulate this information that now you've determined is valuable to you. Next slide. And then you want to identify the behavioral trends that can be quantified. So for example, the larger companies have been doing this for years, but now smaller companies are getting into it. So just a quick example, Disney might give you a wristband and you can charge everything through the wristband. So they're going to know what a family of 4, how long they stay, what parks they like to go to, what restaurants they like to eat to, what do they like to drink. You gain all this information. So that's identifying the behavioral trends that they're trying to quantify. And then they develop promotion or profitable promotional bundling to be consistent with these buying trends. Rather than to change people's buying trends, which sometimes you're able to do, you want to be consistent with them. So once you gather this information, you want to be able to target promotions at them. Google does this very well. Amazon does that as well. Disney, I mentioned. But now smaller companies are understanding the rules of the game, and they're doing it to a certain degree. And then it ends at target marketing, because now you can redefine your marketing efforts. Okay, so now the 7 ways to automate your business today. These are 7 things that we recommend that you do in order to continue to automate it, because it's an ongoing process. It's not like you wake up and you say, okay, for this week, we're going to automate the business and we're going to be done. It is a continuous process. So depending on where you are in this process, there can always be improvements. But we're going to give you some seven things that we feel are important to know. One is you want to create the culture. You want to get everyone on board, because this is not something that you can ram down a group of employees' throats. You really need buy-in from everyone with that. So you want to get everyone on board. The one thing you want to address too, number 2 bullet point, is identify the threats and benefits to them. So if you're a retailer and you're now having a self-checkout, and you want your current checkout clerks to be on board with it, the first thing you want to think about is, okay, I'm helping you so that I'm out of a job. So you want to make sure that you address those concerns, because employees will tend to either drag their feet or even sabotage this type of process if they feel that they're going to be threatened. So be upfront with them and get and be very transparent. Also, identify what can be automated. Create a schedule of what can be automated, and make sure everyone knows this is going to be a long-term process. Number 2, identify repetitive tasks. We talked about that, especially in the financial systems area. There's a number of them. You want to take note of how your financial department, and that department might be one person, is spending their time, and what can we do as time savers. And once we introduce those time savers, what else can we have this person now doing? Is really the thought process behind it. You want to find software that can perform these tasks, and there is plenty of it. Actually, there is an abundance of it where that is hard to do. It's almost having too many things on a menu, and you need to choose from, and you just need to shop around and do some research. But things as deposits, writing checks, payroll, things that we talked about, all those tasks need to be automated. Number 3, start small, don't get overwhelmed. Clearly, this is a process, and where you're at as far as the culture, you need to move forward with it, and getting started a lot of times is the hardest part. Now, remember, you're dealing with a financial department here, so you're dealing with bookkeepers, accountants, controllers, who many of the attributes they have that bring value to the company is they're slow and steady and very reliable. So when you introduce change to them, there's going to be times when they're going to be not so receptive to it. So you have to understand that this will be disruptive, and you need to develop timelines and track certain things. For example, I gave track gas cards or reimbursing employees. Different features can be put into play here as starting points for the company. Okay, number 4 is automation and human balance. Okay, when we discuss this area, we talk about what you can automate or computerize, and then what you can humanize here. And there is a balance to that. You don't want to remove the human touch altogether, I would imagine, in most companies, but you want to make sure that that interaction is as professional and as reliable and valuable as possible. And by automating other tasks, you can really focus on the human side of it. That's the concept behind it. So you want to determine what needs to be automated, those things that don't bring high value to your customer or client experience. You want to look at what can be outsourced, things that you might be able to do, but you can outsource it cheaper and do that. Payroll is a great example of it. IT is another good example of it as well. And determine the functions that need the human element. What really brings value to your customer and client, and how do you get the best people in there? Because now you've saved money and resources, so you can really enhance that experience. Number 5, go paperless. This is near and dear to my heart. Being in the accounting profession, there has been a lot of paper over the years in our profession. We bit the bullet, well, we have over the last few years, but last year we went completely paperless, which was a task, but again, we did what we listed here. We got the culture, we got everyone on board, and we did it, and it's so much better now. So I really recommend going paperless as a way of streamlining and automating the process. Now, if you can't go completely paperless, just attempt to make less paper here so that, again, it is more portable. You want to document, and then also you want to document the new automated process, understanding that that you're going to have people coming in and out of the business, and you don't want to have it such where someone leaves let's say your accounting department, and it's a big learning curve to get a new person in there. You want to make sure that you have the process documented as best you can. You see here on the left, it's a lot of paper and it's somewhat of an extreme example, but on the right, that's what we're looking at in these days, and that is very much the case where you have a hard drive, you have all the information on it, it's easily accessible, it's something where it has to be used repetitively, and then once it is, you gain a confidence in it, and then you move forward. And again, not everyone has to use that in the same way. You have the owners might use just the reporting end of it. They just want to see the output, where the accounting department obviously needs to know the nuances of it even more so. Item number 6, take advantage of the cloud. We're in an age where you want to access everything anywhere. Mobile devices, tablets, laptops, People want to be able to access their information, whether there's multiple users in a company. So the owner might want to access certain information, their managers at different locations, other information. There might be multiple locations, or the owner might be remote. All those things are now a given in most companies, and there's a demand for it to be technology to respond to that. And it has, and it can, but you need to still adopt it in your company. And that's what the challenge is. And that's what we're talking about here, is that you can respond to that. What we're seeing challenges of here is with succession planning. You have a parent or parents who've run a successful business for a number of years. Now the next generation is taking over. They want to do these things. They want to automate. And again, you might have some resistance from the parents due to a lack of comfort or familiarity with it, and maybe certain employees, long-term employees. So this is a process. The cloud has become extremely reliable. And this is clearly the way to go. And as a result, ultimately, you're going to get your financial reports, your KPI this way, or your island reports, so that you truly can expand the stamp in your offerings in your business by multiple locations, or expanding your presence virtually on the internet as well. This part is critical. I can't say enough about it, and really taking the plunge into using the cloud more. And the last tip is select a technology partner that you can work with. You don't want a technology partner who can only satisfy your needs today. You want to be able to have them satisfy your needs as much as 5 years out to the future, which at the pace in which technology is changing is a very long stretch of time. You want to make sure that you interview this technology partner and make sure that they understand where you're at now and where you need to be, because everyone's different. It's almost like having a trainer. If you want to work out, trainer needs to understand where you're at and where you want to be, so that they can adjust on the level of their services. You want to hear their plan as well. They need to be system integration specialists for sure. They need to know what different systems and software you're using and how to best to integrate it. And lastly, most companies outsource this function. It's too expensive to have a dedicated IT person. For most companies, at least that we deal with, they outsource this just like they outsource CFO services with CFO on demand. Companies such as Ansero, who is our sponsors here, do that level of work. They do it very well. We've been partners with them for a good part of 20 years now. And they have grown with their clients, and they would be an excellent person to our company to talk to about these things. They get it, and they do a nice job with that. But that is critical. You can't do this on your own and make any kind of dent in it. You need someone externally to support you with that for sure. So as a recap, the 7 ways to automate your financial systems. One is you want to create a culture. Get the people in your accounting department on board for sure. You want to identify repetitive tasks. That's not too hard to do in the accounting world. You want to start small, understanding there might be resistance. You want to gain some momentum and then build on those projects for sure. You want to understand the balance between automation and the human balance. Even in the accounting department, there's going to be certain things that you want to automate, but clearly there's some times when you need to interact with personnel. The accounting department, the higher level up, the better. The controllers, the CFOs need the interaction. That's where we at CFO on Demand come into play there. We're the liaison between the accounting department and the owners, and part of the accounting department is the accounting systems as well. You want to go paperless. As I mentioned before, this just allows for an easier flow of information and allows for portability of the records. 6, you want to take advantage of the cloud. Again, this allows you to have everything at your fingertips at any time, whether it's in the banking world, the payroll, the accounting. They all need to be integrated, and they all need to be at your fingertips. That is a must now for companies, and you can get there. It's just a matter of developing a plan going forward. And then lastly, selecting a technology partner who can help guide you through that process, and they can be as involved or not as involved as possible. But you do need someone there who you can bounce ideas off of and get the best alternatives from them. And they are our 7 lists. Okay, so at CFO on Demand, we understand the challenges that the internal accounting department has, and we also understand the fact that integration is an ongoing thing that needs to be addressed on a regular basis, and how much it can help that financial reporting part of the company. We work with the financial analysis. You see the diagram on the left where you have the internal accounting department struggling doing financial analysis. There's just not enough hours in the day and level of expertise, and that drags the business owner back down and creates more of a business operator type environment. Off to the right, with CFO on Demand, we reinforce the financial analytics part. We help the internal accounting department get as much out of the information as they can. We then interpret that and work with the business owner to make better financial business decisions. The business owner now becomes a strategist. They're not so ingrained working in the business, and we're working on the business as part of our strategy. And we know that with business owners, a business strategist outpaces and does much better than a business operator all the time. We have a graphic on that here. You can tell the age of the kids of the employees who helped me put these slides together. They're watching Toy Story still there, and you have your business owner, Woody, who is more old school and effective by all means, but then you have Buzz Lightyear, and we thought that would be a good analogy here because we're talking about technology, more of a strategist, getting things done in a more automated, exciting fashion, and that's really critical, and that's where business owners need to be in order to compete with in a more effectively and more profitably. We have 1 or 2 questions here. Let me see. Okay. Let me see the question. Do we have some questions? All right. So this is new with the video conferencing, so we're going to have to work on those questions here. Can I see those questions? Okay. Okay. Okay, so the one question is getting started. We've made some small advances in the company, but we need to continue. Where do we go from here? That we address that somewhat, but I'll elaborate on it for another minute or two. It's important to map out exactly what the sequence is. So you're automating one aspect of it. How do you what's next and in what sequence? And once that's mapped out, that'll work out better for the employees to get them more on board with the process and the timelines. There's going to be trial and error, and they need to feel comfortable that if there is a hiccup or a screw up in certain aspects of it, it's okay as we're working through the process. Any other ones? We got that? All right. Okay, great. And the last question is concerning family members and the process here. Anytime you have family members working in the business, it's going to be difficult and a challenge. I think whether it's a family member or key employee working and trying to automate this, you need to have a champion, and that really needs to come from the owners. If the owners don't believe in the value of automation, it's going to be hard getting key employees or family members on board with it. So it really starts the owner. So this webinar is really directing, again, the owners on board conceptually. And once you do, then everyone else will be. Don't leave it up to the employees to do that, because there is an inherent threat that their jobs might be limited or they might be eliminated. So it's very hard to ask an employee to be committed to technology without being given either the direction or the mandate from the owners. So I believe philosophically that's where you need to be. Well, that's it for the questions. Thank you so much for joining us and bearing with us as we kind of fumbled through this first video one. We'll get better at it at the next one. We ask that you join us at the next webinar, which I think I skipped over that slide, which is, oh, thank you, marketing by the numbers. We get a lot of questions as far as target marketing, how to use those funds, and how best to measure whether they were effective. We'll spend quite a bit of time on talking about the financial aspects of marketing and have some fun with that one. Thank you again for joining us, and I'll see you next month.